Hello everyone, I'm Sunil. I welcome you back to my YouTube channel TechBasics. So in this video, we'll try to understand what are the various basic data types that you have in C++, what is the structure of C++ program, and then we'll start coding some of the C++ programs today. So the basic data types that are available to us in C++, we have integer data type, we got float data type, we got double data type, character data type, and then we have bool data type. So whenever you want to, basically let's understand what is the data type. So whenever you write any program, as we know, a program takes some input, it will process that input, and then it will give you some output. So whenever we are going to provide some input to your program, that is nothing but some data to the program. Your data may be of different types. Your data may be purely numbers, your data may be numbers plus alphabets, and so on. And again, coming to numbers, your data may be numbers without fractions, numbers with fractions, or your data may be something like a true value, false value, and so on. So in order to understand, or in order to make the compiler understand that the user is going to provide a data which is of purely numbers without fractions, or numbers with fractions, or it is a true and a false kind of value, we need to define or declare or make use of data types in our program. So whenever you write any program, you are supposed to declare what kind of data you are going to make use of in the form of variable declaration. What is variable and all, we'll try to understand. So before that, let's understand what kind of input we can take into our program. So your data can be given to the program, or your compiler can understand the data which is of type integer, which is of type float, which is of type double, character, and then boolean. So when you talk about integer data type, meaning of that is you can provide or you can give numbers over there which can be without any fraction. So numbers like 100, 200, 500, 5, 10, 6, 7, and so on, they are treated as integer values. It stores numbers. When you talk about integer data type, it takes or stores the numbers without any fractions. So whenever you declare something as that is, whenever you declare a variable as integer, it is going to occupy 4 bytes of memory in our system. So if I say my data is of type integer, which means I consume a memory of 4 bytes over there. But if I want a number to be stored wherein I want to have a fractional value, then I can go with float, or I can go with a data type called double over there. So when I say float, it stores numbers with fractions with 7 digits after decimal point. So you get a lot of accuracy over here. 7 digits after decimal gives a lot of accuracy, and it is also going to consume a memory of 4 bytes over there. So here you can store numbers with fractions, here you can store numbers without fractions. Now coming to double, it is a higher version of float, you can say, wherein you can store the numbers with fractions and you can get an accuracy up to 15 decimal digits and so on. But it will consume 8 bytes of memory over there. So depending on a need, either you can make use of a double data type or you can make use of a float data type. When you come to character, then you can enter any key that is present on your keyboard. Any key that is present on your keyboard can be called as character, and then these characters are further classified as alphabets, numbers, special characters, and so on. So if you press any key on a keyboard, that can be considered as character, including 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. But if I say 1 is a character, 2 is a character, I may not be able to perform arithmetic operations with the help of character data type. So if I have to perform any arithmetic operation, then I have to make or declare that particular data either as type integer or float or double and so on. So when you talk about character data type, it occupies only 1 byte of memory over there. In the similar way, you can go for Boolean data type, wherein you can accept a value called true or a false value and so on. So these are the various basic data types that we have in C++, or these are the basic data types that are supported by C++, like integer, float, double, character, Boolean and so on. So let's try to understand then what exactly we mean by a variable, how a variable can be defined, how a constant can be defined in C++. A variable, basically we say, is a placeholder which will tell our computer to reserve X bytes of memory with a name for it. So you can, whenever you declare a variable of type integer, it means that it is going to occupy or reserve 4 bytes of memory, and for that 4 bytes of memory some name is given. That is nothing but your variable name. So depending on the data type that is declared, the value in this location can change from time to time. So the value that you are going to place or put in this particular location, you can change it time and again within your program. So if the value is going to change from the start of the program to the end of the program, then you can call it as a variable. For example, say if I declare here integer a, meaning of that is a is the variable of type integer. So it means a is given now a memory of 4 bytes by the compiler, and then those 4 bytes will be given a name as a, and in these locations you can store an integer value, that is a number without any fractions. Similarly, what exactly we mean by a constant? Constants also referred as literals are fixed values which are not going to change from the start of the program to the end of the program. They can be numeric constants, character constants and so on. So if you take any value and if that value is kept constant from the start of the program to end of the program, if the value is unchanged, then you are going to call it as a literal or you are going to call it as a constant. Good examples of constants can be something like pi value. Whether you make use of that on the earth or the moon, the value is going to be the same, which is 3.14 and so on. So if you go for the real-time examples of a variable, the temperature is a variable, humidity is a variable, and the name of a person can be variable provided you have different names at home, different name in the office and so on. Like otherwise you can call it as a constant. A name can be considered as a constant, otherwise it can be called as a variable. Similarly, gravitational force can be called as a constant if you are using it on the earth. If you are moving or making use of your program on the earth and the moon, then you can call gravitational force as a constant and so on. So if the value is going to change from the start of the program to end of the program, you call it as a variable, and if the value is going to remain unchanged from the start to the end of the program, you can call it as a constant. So certain rules we need to remember whenever you make use of or whenever you declare the variables. Variable names in C++ can range up to 32 characters. So you can have a variable name max up to 32 characters over there. Variable names can contain numbers, alphabets and underscore. So you can have in a variable name something called a number, alphabet and underscore. But a variable name must always begin with an alphabet or it can begin with an underscore. But a variable name cannot begin with a number. No blank space is allowed in between. So whenever you are writing a variable name, you cannot have a blank space in between the variable name. Variable names are case sensitive. So if I write NAME as a variable, then if I write it in capital letters, in everywhere in my program, I am supposed to use that as capital letter only. That is NAME, I am supposed to use it as capital letter only. If I am going to make use of in small case, it is going to be different variable than what I have declared in capital letters. So these are the various rules that we need to follow whenever you go for variable declaration. So then before we write the program in C++, let's understand what are the input statements and output statement that you have in C++. So the output statement that you have in C++, like in other languages you have printf and so on, here the output statement you have is cout is the output statement. Standard output stream, we say, is an output statement in C++. So how is that you are going to write? You are going to say cout. Meaning of that is you are going to put the value with the help of this operator called inserter operator. Cout inserter. So whatever you are going to write over here will be displayed onto your output device. So cout, basically we say it is an object of a class called OStream, and then you have cin, which can be called as an object of iStream and so on. So cout, we call it as an object of OStream. It is used to display data on the output device. So you can write it in this fashion. You can just say cout, you can say hello, cout inserter. So that less than symbol, you can call it as an inserter, and then you can say cout insert hello in double quotes. So when you write something in double quotes, it is treated as a constant. Because it is a group of characters, you can call it as a string constant and so on. So every statement in C++ has to be terminated with semicolon, and it is case sensitive language. Cout, you need not to write C capital over there. You need to write it as cout. Everything should be in small case over there. Similarly, in order to accept the data from your input device like your keyboard, you can make use of an input statement in C++ with the help of an operator called extractor. So when you say less than, it is inserter, and when you say greater than, it is called an extractor operator. Cin, standard input stream, is the input statement that you have in C++, and then it is an object of class called iStream class. It accepts the data from your input device over there. So if I want to accept the value for a variable called A, for a variable called B, I can just write, as I have written here in the last line, I can just say cin A, cin extract B, which means I am going to accept the value for A, I am going to accept the value for B. So cin is the input statement, and then cout is the output statement that we have in C++. Let's go with the structure of C++. When you write a program of C++, you are supposed to follow some structure over there, which we need to understand. When I'll take you to the software that we are going to make use of over here. So you can make use of a software over there called repl.it. This is an online software that you can, compiler that you can make use of, wherein you can compile programs of various languages over there. You can just say start coding over there and then select C++ as your language. So when you do so, you will get a sample program over there, which will be stored with the name as main.cpp. So here you can type the program, here you can see the result of that, and here you can see the name of the file, which is stored over here with this particular program. So what is that you need to do? You need to make the changes for this particular program, and you can write the program of your choice over here, which will be saved in a file called main.cpp, which later you can download it in the form of a zip file and so on. So this is an online compiler to compile your program of C++. So the structure of C++ should go like this. Your first line should be written as #include, you will say iostream and so on. So this is the first line that you are supposed to write. Hash over there, #include iostream. Meaning of that is, it is a preprocessor directive wherein you are going to include your header file called iostream into your program. So before you compile your program, this particular file gets inserted in your program, and later your program will be compiled. So if your program is say of 4 lines over here, and if this particular IO stream is of 10 lines, then 14 lines will be the size of your program when you compile it and so on. So you are supposed to write this particular line called IO stream because you are going to make use of objects of outstream and in stream as we have discussed. That is object of O stream and I stream called as C in and C out. So it is must to write this particular statement at the very beginning, wherein you are supposed to include IO stream.h file and so on. Then you can write there as usual a function called main, which can be written as void main, which can be written as integer main and so on so this is the name of the function which is compulsory to write, and then the data type of this, the return value of this can be of any data type. It can be integer, void and so on. So here I am just taking it as integer main, and main is a function over here which starts over here and then it closes over here. Within this you are supposed to declare the variables, and then you are supposed to write the statements of C++ over here. So that is how you are going to write the program of C++. And then when you come across the concept of classes, you have to define the classes over here. You have to write the functions within the classes, properties within the classes, and then you are supposed to create an object of that classes. So as we progress, we'll try to understand the structure in detail. So right now we are saying you need to write a line on the top called hash include IO stream followed by the main function, and within the main function you are supposed to make use of the statements of C++. So then we'll try to write some of the programs that are given over here, and then we'll try to understand what exactly we mean by namespace also. So let's try to write a first program to display hello world. So how is that you are going to write this particular program? So you are going to say here, in order to display, you are supposed to make use of an object called cout, and then you are supposed to say hello world. So this is how you are supposed to write the program. But when you say cout, you get an error over here because your compiler is not able to understand in which particular namespace this particular object is present. So what is that we need to understand over here is we need to understand what exactly we mean by a namespace. So namespaces are used in C++ in order to organize the code into logical groups and to prevent the name collision that may occur, especially when the code base includes multiple libraries. So there may be every chance that in C++, while you write the program and make use of the ready-made libraries, there is every chance that a function may be available or an object may be available to us in multiple logical groups. So you need to clearly specify from which logical group or the namespace you are making use of that particular object. So for that, what is that you need to do is you need to include a namespace on the top. Like when you work with cin and cout, you will be working with a namespace called standard namespace. So you are supposed to say here using namespace std. So this is compulsory to write. If you are not writing that, then every time when you make use of cin and cout, you are supposed to say std : : is a scope resolution operator and so on. But in order to avoid all this, what you can do is the next line in your program can be using namespace std. So then you can directly make use of your cout and cin objects over there. As you know, cout is an object of O stream, cin is an object of I stream and so on. So if you make use of this particular namespace, you can make use of this particular objects directly over there. So now you can write cout hello world. Execute the program over there, it gets saved automatically. You get the result over there, hello world. So if you are not going to make use of this namespace, then what is that you need to do is you need to write there std : cout and so on. Then your program is again going to execute over there. But if you are not going to write this, then you are bound to get, see this now, then you are bound to get here an error wherein your compiler is not able to understand where from this particular cout is taken and so on. So better we write there using namespace std, so that whenever you write cout, you need not to write any prefix for that, and so on. So that is how you can write a program wherein you can display hello world to the user, and so on. This program will get saved with the name as main.cpp. Later, if you want, you can download this, and then it gets downloaded in the form of a zip file. We'll then try to go with the next program there. Program to display name, address, city, and so on. So we'll try to do that. So I will try to display my own name, address, and city. So I'll just say my name is Sunil, and then I will make use of here. I'll just say Sunil. Then I will say cout. My address I will write I'm in Hyderabad. Name, address, and city. Okay, Hyderabad. City also I'll write it as Hyderabad, and so on. So this is how you can write a program there. You display the name. You can display some address over here. I will say Usmania University Road, something like this, and then you can run the program there. When you run the program, you have seen that though you have written cout for 3 number of times, your output has come onto a single line over there. So in order to make this output to come on to different lines, what is that you need to do is, you can make use of here \n in this fashion, whereby you are making, or you are telling your output statement to go on to the next line once the statement or once the data is displayed. Or you can make use of end L over there. You can write end L, or you can make use of \n. So now when I do so, and then when I run the program, you will see that your output comes on 3 different lines over there. So the name comes on one line, your address comes on another line, your city name comes on another line, and so on. So this is how you are going to make use of your output statement called cout statement, and then you can display the data over there. And then if you want to move on to the next line, you can make use of \n over there, what you call it as escape sequence, or you can go on to the next line by making use of end L, and so on. So in the next video, we'll try to see how do we accept the data by making use of our input statement called cin, how to perform some calculations, and then how is that we are going to display the data over there. So whereby we get a clarity on the declaration of the variables and then usage of that particular variables. Thank you.